Lavigne, I think I'm saying it right. So I faced her before at nationals. So this is not like a run through kind of fight. I respect her as a fighter, and I think she is a tough chick. I think she definitely likes to counterpunch, and I think she has boxing knowledge. So it's going to be a good fight. I'm excited, to have a good rumble.
Hi everyone, I'm Sasha from Women's Fight News, and I am joined by Melody Popravak. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for joining me. First off, because I'm super excited that you have a fight coming up in, I think, just over a week's time. Is that right?
Yeah, about a week and a half now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thursday the 16th.
Yeah, 16th of September. So how has training been going for that?
It's been good. It is definitely a change in training going from amateur to professional. So, navigating that. And I really like the training for professional fights so far. I like it.
What's different for you then from the amateur to professional training wise?
Okay. For one, who you're going to fight for the most part. So you really can focus on, boxing for that fight. And I feel that it's more technical when the opponent. And just, maybe this just comes over time. Maybe it's not a pro amateur thing, just working on my athletic ability. Like, you have those technical things, and then athletically, am I executing on them on that end too, I guess. Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. And I always think like amateur and pro is like two different sports. It's so different. It's not like it complements each other. So how have you found it adjusting to that transition?
Like I said, I like it. I feel that I kind of felt like professional boxing would complement my style of boxing more, or just who I am. So I like it, but I had such a good experience in amateur. It really is like, sometimes there's nobody even there. You're just fighting to win the tournament. I don't know, it's very different, like you said.
It is different. I suppose in amateurs you're fighting purely for passion. I'm not saying pros don't do that, but like you say, you're not fighting on these shows where sometimes there's no one there. You're just fighting because, like you say, you want to win. I think, and you fight more often as well. Obviously, as an amateur, you're out so much more often. And I think sometimes is that more difficult turning over as pro, knowing that you spend more time training than you do fighting?
Yeah, you actually just hit the nail on the head of like, how do I say this? But that's what it is. You do spend more time training and thinking about it. Whereas amateur, you could take fight after fight. And then at the national tournaments, you are getting through a week of fighting. So it's really, I think that's equally as hard, though, getting through the week of fights in amateur. It really is for passion. You just hit the nail on the head.
It is definitely for passion, though, because when you look at the schedules for amateurs, and I just think, oh my goodness, like the amount, it's hard, especially if you're winning. Like winning can be a curse because it can just be non-stop for you.
Yeah, it was my first year of competition. I only competed in amateurs really for a full year, and learning to make it through the tournament. I made it to the end every time. Like learning to make it to the last day is a whole thing with your body, not even with your boxing, So definitely I feel prepared for professional in that manner because, again, more training, making sure you put your body through the ringer, less fights. But I feel like I know how to do that from those tournaments and really just jumping into them. It's a good experience.
Yes, definitely. So you said you know who your opponent is, which is obviously a massive help, because there's still times now though with pros, we've seen it recently on like matchroom shows where opponents come in quite last minute, and I think that would stress me out. I would have to know who I'm fighting. It would stress me out. But what do you know about your opponent, or what are you expecting her to bring to the ring?
Well, I'm fighting Kaitlin Lavigne. I think I'm saying it right. So I faced her before at Nationals. So this is not like a run through kind of fight. I respect her as a fighter, and I think she is a tough chick. I think she definitely likes to counter punch, and I think she has boxing knowledge. So it's going to be a good fight. I'm excited, to have a good rumble.
Yes, because you had your debut. I think, was it back in June? Your debut.
Yeah, June 19th. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it was a great performance from you. I think it lasted about a minute and a half. So, I mean, I think it was a body shot, and she went down. I don't think she could recover from that at all.
Yeah. I feel like, well, women's boxing is progressing, so I could almost not say that anymore. But when I first started, not like it's been so long, I felt like women needed to go to the body more, and I love body shots.
Yeah, and it was a big shot as well. You could hear it when I watched it, and I was just like, oh, I think she tried to get back up, and I was like, no, don't, stay down.
Yeah, I just saw the opening, and I saw it glaring there, kind of, so I went for it. Yeah.
So it was a great debut, but of course it was first round, a minute 30.
Yeah.
So are you hoping to get some more rounds in for this one?
Yeah, it's an odd thing to be excited about, right? You think you'd step out of the ring and be like, oh, that was easy, good job. But I was like, man, I didn't get a real fight, Yeah. And that sounds, however that sounds. But yeah, I'm excited for the challenge of this fight. It only helps you get better when you challenge yourself. So you don't necessarily want easy fights,
No, definitely. Because I think, especially if you went through a full training camp, I think, like you've just said, you must be ecstatic to get the KO. Then part of me would be like, oh, I've trained for however many weeks and I only done 90 seconds in the ring.
Yeah. And it was, I set that as my goal. I really do want to be like a knockout boxer, a boxer who can execute and get the KO. So I achieved my goal, and I was still stepped out like, oh, which is that's, but, I hope that you don't want to just blindly go for a knockout because, but I hope that I could see it and become a boxer who can execute when the time is right and close the show. So
yes, definitely. So would you say that's your boxing style, for those who haven't seen your debut yet, but I'm sure they will because it was such a good knockout. But what is your boxing style?
Well, I'm really tall. I'm taller than a lot of my opponents. I'm 5'11". So obviously, you want to fight as such, and have a strong jab. And I like to try to be, I'm a middleweight, but I still like to try to be athletic and dynamic and moving around the ring. And I wouldn't say, I don't know, I kind of, as far as one style goes, I change for opponent of how I fight them. So, but just being tall, that naturally comes with assumptions of like, what would a taller boxer do?
Yeah, that's true. But people do always think that the taller fighter has the advantage, which obviously you can keep your distance, you can use your jab, but at times
it's not true.
And you're always having to punch down on your shots as well, and there's definitely disadvantages to being the taller fighter, I think.
Yeah, I find it funny that people say that too, because if you fight somebody who, I have fought a lot of people shorter than me, and I will say some knew how to execute against a taller fighter and maybe some didn't. So maybe the ones that didn't would say it's an advantage. But if you know how, and then like me on my side being ready of like, if I were fighting me, what would you do? So, but each height has its advantage or disadvantage. I just don't think that's true.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think everything has its advantage, but I've seen in fights where someone's been, a little bit taller. I think it was even Michaela Mayer in her last fight, and she was taller, but actually her reach was shorter somehow. But it's everyone automatically goes, oh, she's taller, so like the odds go up. And I think, is that really true? I feel like we're all missing something. So, like you say, everyone
I saw that
has
too with her reach. The other girl had the longer reach. I know what you're and I've faced that as well, where everybody assumes. Yeah, like my arms aren't specifically long. I don't know.
Yeah, because that sells. I saw it on TV and I was like, I think that's wrong. And I like Googled it, but of course, like just because you're tall doesn't mean like you've got weirdly long arms. Like, it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, this is just surface level. People make assumptions.
Yeah, 100%. So obviously you're going in for your second fight, but how have you got to this point of being a pro boxer? So what got you into boxing, and obviously then like your amateur career?
Well, so in my 20s I was pretty wild, and I really wish actually I had thought to start boxing. Like I was a Division I softball player and a softball player growing up, and kind of once college ended, I didn't really have anywhere to go with it. So I think I became wild and partying like at night. I had a day job. I was an accountant, so it's kind of nerdy, but I needed something to fill that time that was healthier. You know what I mean? So, and that helped my mental health too, obviously, boxing and exercise in general. So I got back in shape. It just kept going. I was like, well, let me have a boxing match, and I kept winning. And sometimes I'm like, how did this happen? How did I get this far? I'm just like appreciating the ride. I am really competitive though, so not to be mistaken. But I am trying to take it day by day and appreciate that everything it's all happened in a very short time. So
yeah, but why not take advantage of it? If you've got the opportunity, then you might as well.
Exactly. Like, why not? Why not, become a professional boxer? Now it's like, why not, win a belt? Why not? There's always the next thing,
Yeah. And is that on your radar? Like, is it soon or further down the line wanting to win a belt?
I really want to get a few fights under my belt to see where I stand. Because nothing happened during COVID. It's still COVID, but 2020, nothing happened. So, just to like see where I am mentally with me fighting and in the ring, and from there I'll be able to gauge of like how fast I want to make moves and take on more challenging fights for awards or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Because like you say, 2020, nothing happened. And was that difficult for you to keep motivated, knowing that the likelihood is you probably weren't going to get a fight that year?
It was. I had to really... So I lived in Brooklyn at the time, and the whole city was really shut down. And I had... So I'm a trainer too. I had all the tools in the toolbox to keep myself moving. And I really honed down on the personal training side of like using my knowledge for myself. And, I had my little notebook and my stats and my heart rate and all of that. And I really just tried to keep myself in check. And I feel actually I came out of it stronger, just worked on some of the athleticism again. And so, I learned a lot for nothing happening fight wise. It was good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
because I've asked that question quite a lot, because obviously, I mean, it affected the whole world. And I think a lot of boxers took it as a positive, and you can work on stuff typically you wouldn't have been able to work on if you're moving from fight to fight to fight. So there's definitely been positives to take from it.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, you have to be positive. You know, there was a lot of negativity in the world going on, and that's just how I choose to be. You know what I mean? Because I think, you know, we are stronger people as fighters, or, you know, however you want to set that example for other people too, that, you know, maybe take this time to change something, or, you know, so I tried to live that life.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I say, you've got to be
Yeah,
positive in negative situations. So, um,
exactly.
so you said you're going to be fighting at middleweight. Is that the weight that you're looking to stick at, or would you be like flexible, move up or down if the fights were there for you?
I'm pretty flexible right now. I was 165 all of amateur, and I'm very surprised at how like my weight is actually lower, running lower now, and I think I could go actually to a lower, maybe into welterweight. uh I'm learning as I you know, I kind of just keep losing weight. So this fight's at 160, and then we'll see what happens from there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm actually pretty surprisingly flexible with that.
Because it's difficult, isn't it? I think people think, oh, we'll just lose 5 pounds or whatever. But obviously, there's a lot of like science that goes into it, because you can't lose too
Yeah.
much without losing your strength. And there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, that's another thing I've really studied, because I have seen some ugly weight cuts in
Mm-hmm.
my teammates, let's say, in amateur, and I thought I don't want to go through that.
No.
So just studying what type of foods, and really portion control and timing of food, and how to eat and bring your weight down makes it so much easier, just like having that some knowledge.
Yeah,
Sure.
so it's like you say, you see some horrible stories, and I think MMA, to be fair, I think can be a little bit worse than boxing with some of the weight cuts. But even on the scales, you see people like collapse when they come off the scales, and yeah, it
Yeah.
just looks horrendous at times.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, okay, let me just cling to science.
Yeah, yeah,
And what is supposed to work, because I think it's possible. You're obviously, you're doing it, you're cutting weight. It's just, you know, a lot of there's a lot of tools being thrown at you out there. I don't know if all of them are useful. You know?
yeah, exactly. Like you say, anyone
Yeah.
can cut weight, but is it safe? And I think that's sometimes the problem. And are you still going to be able to perform on the night? Because there's no point cutting weight and then you can't perform on the night. It's a waste of time.
Yeah. If you have a nasty weight cut, I mean, I've had a bad one where um I took an Epsom salt bath the night before a fight, which sounds like, oh, I do that all the time. I woke up, my weight had dropped, I would say like 5 pounds. And I was like, what is
Wow.
this? And I was so tired for that fight. I didn't look good. It really affects you if you do the right or wrong thing in your body.
Yeah.
You know, we get to weigh in the day before. It's a little easier though, but
Yeah.
so,
That's the
yeah.
benefit, isn't it?
Yeah,
Then you can hydrate after as well. So,
exactly.
do you have, I mean, this is talking down the line maybe, but do you have the dream fight that you would love to be a part of? Is there someone that you would love to be in the ring with?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I thought about this of like, what if I end up fighting some of the fighters that I actually idolize?
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously Claressa is one of them, who is my size and my weight class. And I mean, it'd be a fun fight, you know?
Yeah.
And going down to welterweight, Kaylee Reese, she's a
Yeah.
welterweight. She's like a fighter that I really idolized when I started, and then I'm like, oh gosh, I'm in her weight class, you know?
Yeah.
So it's becoming real of like, oh, someday I might actually fight these women that I've been watching and taking example from, you know?
Yeah. But how
So
special would that moment be though if it comes to that?
be awesome, you know,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah,
The fun of it,
definitely.
yeah.
And is there a particular venue where, say, one of them fights happens? Have you got a dream venue that you'd love to fight in?
That's an easy answer, the Barclays Center.
Yeah.
Because I I moved to Brooklyn when it was just being built, and I lived by it for a decade. And I went to my first professional boxing match there. So that would be a huge honor for me to fight there. I'd be so excited.
Yeah.
It's one of my dream places for sure.
Yeah. Good choice as well. I've been there when I went on holiday to New York.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah. So good choice.
Yeah, thank you.
Aside from yourself, is there a particular fight you think on recent times that needs to happen for women's boxing to take it to like that next level?
I mean, I think there are a lot of them that need to happen, and I think they should happen sooner. I think boxing can miss the mark of like making the fights happen at prime interest from the consumer. And but I hope the women seem to be better at doing it. So I mean, right now we've got French Han and Eileen. I think I'm saying it right. That one was about to happen. It got canceled. I can't wait for that one.
Yeah.
Claressa and Savannah, of course. And I really want to see Jessica McCaskill fight some of the. I want to see her fight Kaylee Reese, and I want to see her fight Katie Taylor again. And there's just there's so many good matches out there. You know, it's like, let's make them happen. Come on.
Because obviously Katie Taylor's just fought this weekend and Jessica McCaskill was there. So I thought, I hope they're going to announce the
They're
rematch.
building it. Yeah.
And they didn't. And I was like, what happened? Because like you say, there are times when we're just missing the mark, and then fights eventually happen, but it's when they're at the peak or we've spoke about it too much. And if the hype's not there, you feel like you've missed something, and it's not the same.
Yeah, you have to do it, when it's all a business, I guess, and a market. You have to do when the market's up for it.
Yeah, exactly. When it's going to make more money, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, women's boxing's come like leaps and bounds over the years, especially I think the last couple of years. So I was thinking it's like the perfect time to turn pro, because there's definitely more women, there's more fights to be made, there's more promotions and people willing to televise it. Is there anything in particular that you still think needs to change to take women's boxing to the next level?
Well, I've been back and forth about this, but the 3-minute rounds, let's just give us the 3-minute rounds. Like, come on. So no one can say anything, about it. Just, give us the same rules and the same type of match, whatever, I heard Michaela Mara actually say, well, we're not getting paid for it. Well, hopefully we can, by doing that, we can eliminate that excuse, And if on the flip side, if the rules were made that way because I read that it was because we get our period. I don't know how else to word
Is that the reason?
I read that, yeah.
Stop
I
it.
Googled, why 2 minutes?
No way.
Yes. I think I'm correct on that one. That's why.
No way.
Yes. And I know that was my reaction too.
No.
But whatever, if they feel that we are weaker, let us be weak then, because there aren't within the 3 minutes, because, we're going to have more knockouts and more action, really. And it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I've always been back and forth on it, where I was like, no, I don't want to see it because I like the pace of women's boxing at the minute, but then
make the men do 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It needs to be consistent though, because like you say, you take away that argument, because like you say, you can't. Yeah, you need to be paid. I mean, women's boxers need to be paid a lot more than they're paid now. There's no doubt about that. I think regardless of round time, I do think the pay has to increase. But then they say, well, do more, obviously longer rounds. It's like, well, you're not giving women the opportunity to try and get this equal pay. And that's what's strange to me.
Yeah, it is. It's very weird. It's very slow in keeping up with the times, I feel.
Yeah, because if you look at MMA, women do the same, the same length of rounds as men. So it is a little bit like boxing, slightly behind on the times on that. A bit or very old school.
Yeah. And, exactly. How can they not see what's happening with MMA and think maybe we should capitalize in this manner as well? That's what blows my mind. It's like, look, it works. Look at
yes. And
we're
seeing a few pro boxers obviously switching over to MMA as well. I think for various reasons. But is that something that you would ever consider, or are you just focused on boxing?
Definitely just boxing for now. I don't blame them for switching, but however, I just am really, taking it one sport at a time. Yeah. So, if there ever, there's not really a reason for me to switch right now. I just really am happy doing what I'm doing. So
yeah.
And you have to,
yeah. And it's another sport to train for, and it gets complicated, doesn't it? And more time, I suppose, is needed as well.
Yeah, I haven't been. If there were offers to do so, then I consider it. I guess, but it's just there's no reason right now. I feel that I actually, am just. Again, with the COVID and everything, it's like one step at a time. Yeah. Let me just become see what I achieve in this sport and then go to the next. Yeah,
definitely. Also, obviously, we've seen recently Jake Paul had a fight in a show. Amanda Serrano was on, and I don't know if you saw. I watched that. I thought it was a great show, and I've not in the past been a big fan of these YouTubers. And I'm always curious to know, what's your opinion on kind of one YouTuber's fights, and I think in general, but what the likes of Jake Paul is actually doing for the sport. Do you have an opinion on
that? Well, so funny story. I mean, I've been to one of those fights at Staples Center, and I forgot which brother it was and who he was fighting, but you should have seen the mix. The crowd was like young YouTubers, and then all the old school boxing fans, and they were getting so mad at the YouTubers, like, sit down, watch the fight, because they had all of their phones out, like such a clash of an audience. It's so interesting to observe. And yeah, it was, I mean, there are adult men starting fights with these little kids. And it was like, someone needs to come get their kids. Like, it was not good. Yeah. But it was, but that kind of summer, like, they're really bringing a completely new audience to the sport.
Yeah.
And from there, maybe some of them will get into boxing, Mm-hmm. I don't see where it's bad. I think stuff needed to change about boxing, and they might put a fire under someone's butt to change it. So
yeah, because at first I was like, I didn't agree with it. But actually, when you're seeing what Jake Paul is doing, I think it's amazing. The show he's just put on, and you think actually it is it's younger, it's more current, it is getting a new audience in. And Amanda Serrano is a 7-weight world champion, and that was her biggest platform that she's fought on. So it can't be a bad thing that's happening.
Yeah, I do love that he turned and brought her in, and maybe he'll bring more female fighters onto his cards. And, cool. Yeah. Cool move, dude.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and then he'll get people on his side, definitely.
Yeah, so I loved it.
Yes, exactly. So your fight's September 16th, so just over a week. So how many more days do you have in camp, or have you started to taper off now?
I have, I'm going to train next week, but by the end of next week, I'll start to wind things down. And that's, then you just get to rest. It's way easier.
Yeah, that's the best bit.
The fun part. It's like,
yeah. Well, Melody, I wish you the best of luck on September 16th. I'm sure you will come out with the win, but I'm looking forward to watching it. And
thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and thanks for your time, and hopefully catch up soon when you've got more fights coming up as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ready for new content dropping all the time. Also, give Women's Fight News a follow on Twitter and on Instagram.